Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. And a wonderful Wednesday because why? We have double dose Jessie and we had her yesterday. So if there any of you guys who actually haven't watched our show yesterday with Jessie and Alice Parola and Nikki
That's
Langston, it was
amazing.
really, yeah, it was such a powerful show talking about debunking mental health stigmas. And
Hmm.
really, Alice and her family are a powerful example of how one can heal in the family around that. Anyway, but guys, before we get going, and welcome Jessie, hello Morné. Just before I get going, I want to say hi to you guys.
Right?
Um, we please have a request today. Um, I must say it's the first time I'm putting out a call on this channel, and I'm doing so with a very, very open heart. And after lots of thought and discussion with Jessie as well, this is what we feel we would like to do.
Hmm.
And I can't give too much information, but I'm going to paint the outline. The person I'm calling, in fact, it's people, it's a couple, a husband and wife. I'm calling for us to support today is an ex very high level military operative. He reached out to me a few months ago. And, you know, even if I just sit here, I get quite emotional because he sent me a one liner on the email. And to this day, I can't remember what that one liner was. And which is very strange to me because usually I've got a very good memory about these things. I remember things. But anyway, when I read this message, God just said to me, take note. And I responded and I said, interesting email. What's your story? And so then we started speaking. And all I can say is that he's opening and sharing with me, along with his wife. Okay, we're doing it as three people. It's changed something so significantly in me because I've recognized so much truth in what he's saying. And I want to tell you, he doesn't tell me things. He gives me things very cryptically. He makes me use my brain. And in so doing, I'm able to connect a lot of dots and speak to Jessie with certain things. And in so doing, we're able to, in a very gentle manner, if you will, bring to the fore some very gruesome topics. He's a very, very good friend of this channel, and it's his birthday coming up in a few days' time. So, and obviously, as we know, what happens with a lot of these very high level people, when they decide to not play ball anymore, so to speak, they get cut off completely in
Yeah.
so many ways, which is what's happened. He's turned his life over to the Lord a number of years ago and has really, really been on a very difficult journey, bringing his story to the fore. And we on this channel would love to support him at this time of his birthday. As his wife has recently also just strangely enough lost her job. So we would really love to support them at this time. And just as a very gracious gift of gratitude from our channel and from me, I would like to call for donations for today for the two of them, please. So Jessie has her website, Illuminate the Darkness, which I'm going to ask Morné if you can just post the link where you guys can donate to him. And please use the code ARA, A-R-A, Aquarius Rising
Hmm.
Africa, ARA, because that's going to distinguish what goes for him and
Yeah.
what goes for obviously other
The
different,
vets we support.
yeah.
So
And if you guys would obviously like to support on an ongoing basis for him specifically, we'd be very grateful. You could always just use that code ARA. And then I'm also just going to say, if any of you have the means and facilities to post a sticker, in other words, donate to the channel today, not everyone has that ability, but if you do, whatever donations we receive on the channel today will go to him and his wife as well. So even if it's $1, if it's two, if it's five, if it's 10, if it's 1,000, awesome. Okay, I'm just kidding, guys. Don't take me seriously on that, please. You know, someone might just cut that out and post it. Well, you never know. Anyway, but whatever there is and whatever giving you might have in your heart today, it would be so gracefully and gratefully accepted, and with a lot of love handed over to someone who's got a very important purpose to fulfill, in my opinion. So thank you.
Yeah.
And on that note, Jess, over to you. And I know you're also a great supporter of the veterans. So
Yes,
really...
yeah. They've been through a lot. And as we go through this Gateway project, it's important to remember that there's people, whether they were children, whether they were adults, there's individuals who have gone through these projects and experiments. And, in a way, the system causes so much trauma and devastation to individuals. Um, first they cause trauma through, the initial things that they're doing and the abuse. And then, these people are well trained, well oiled machines for certain purposes. And, then they expect everything to be okay for those people, but they're not. The cost that we put on our veterans that go through these projects and experiments is, they're never the same. And, the majority of them, they really struggle to come back and function in their families like normal people, So it's important to remember that as we go through this. And today, we're going to kind of
Just
get
one,
to, go ahead.
sorry, Jess, I would just like to say thank you to Joyful Janine, who's just
Yes.
donated the first $5. Thank you, guys. It's beautiful. Makes my heart very happy. Thank you. Sorry.
No, you're good. um, so today we're gonna.
Hello, hold the phone.
Oh my
Check
goodness, we'll wait.
it out. Wow.
Thank you, Lisa D.
Wow, Lisa D. Thank you. Wow, so incredible, guys.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. Anyway, okay, I won't interrupt
No,
again. I'm very
no,
excited.
we can interrupt when it comes. I think we should and celebrate it.
Absolutely.
So what we're getting into today is more of the science behind, we've been talking about, these projects, these experiments, how they're testing to see how an individual's spirit and their physical body work together. And, today they're going to get more into the science of exactly what they do. Like, how do they get somebody into that state where, you're really in between that physical and that spiritual state. Or, depending on which way you, um, you remote view, it's one of two ways. Either, you're physically kind of present and very conscious of your spiritual body, or, you're more conscious of your spiritual and your physical is kind of just present in there, which is the astral projecting. So at the base of this, I kind of want to really start to bring some of the mathematics and science into this. And it was a couple years back where, a friend of mine was trying to convince me that math was in everything. And, for me, that was probably the most useless subject because I couldn't fully comprehend or understand or think along those lines because I wasn't really trained that way. Like I was trained to see everything, scientifically, spiritually, but they cause certain disconnects, so you don't always get the full picture when you're in training. So because, mathematics was probably the least of my strong suits, that was the one that was easiest for them to drop in my training. So, anyway, this friend said to me, "It's in everything." And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not believing that. And he's like, no, he's like, seriously. And I said, okay, well, I said, if it is, then explain to me the spirit world through mathematics, right? And smarty pants that he is, he totally did. He said, "Well, that's actually really, really simple." And I was like, "No." And he's like, "It is." And he said, "You just simple equation." He said, "You have P, the physical world, plus S, the spiritual world. You will always get PS at the end, a physical and spiritual world." And I was like, "Wait a second. That actually makes perfect sense."
Wow.
And so then it was like that simple equation that night, the Lord just completely opened up my whole understanding in that area. I was thinking in formulas all night long, called him back the next day, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Everything is spiritual, is mathematical. And the next one the Lord showed me, was you got L, life, plus D, death on this physical plane, right? What do you end up in the spirit world? You always end up with living death. Like there's no, you don't get a zero, you never get a zero. So for anybody out there who's struggling, atheist or agnostic, I'm going to tell you right now, you never get a zero. It's mathematically impossible. So get ready. You're going to have a life after you die. So, um, so it's just interesting when you really bring the math into it. So there's an important mathematical equation that really the system, here is where they start to abuse children as they decide who goes on in these programs and who gets dropped and just goes on to regular school, right? If you think of a triangle, you you have three, we'll call them fields on that triangle. One is the physical world, one is the spiritual world, but then the third is your imagination. And really, that interface between your mind is that interface between the physical world and your physical body and the spiritual world and the spiritual body. Without that imagination, you don't have that interface between those two states of, we'll just say, states of matter. So one of the first things that they do is, in those younger years, pre-K through kindergarten, they really encourage children and families, homes to allow that imagination, to be wild. And, in the schools, that's part of getting to understand how the children see and perceive that spiritual world. They'll say, hey, we're going on adventures. They'll do a lot of talking through traveling to different places, but it's in your imagination. And they're really getting children used to, we'll just say, spirit world travel, um, in that. But then as soon as you get, you know, they decide who they're wanting, who they're not, if you're not chosen for these programs and experiments, then that is immediately shut off. So then you start to, go through abuses where they're trying to shut off all your spiritual senses right after they awakened them. And, if kids are sharing things that they've seen or heard, immediately they're like, well, no, it's time to grow up. You're not a baby any longer. That stuff is fake, it's not real. And you need to, focus on, they put then the focus on your extracurricular things. Um, and, really focus on that physical, mental, um, stimulation. and
Why,
really,
why would
you
a
know, shut off
child?
all those spiritual senses.
Why would a child be unchosen? If are you saying that, let's say they would take a group of, let's say, 10 kids and teach them remote viewing, for example, because those are the best contenders, but really there's only 3 or 4 that really
Hmm.
shine at the end of the personalized training, if you will. So are you saying the ones that then they that aren't as good as what they need them to be, or aren't operating in the way they want them to be, those gifts then get, how do they shut them down again? What means do they use to shut those gifts down in the kids again?
Well, they stop you from learning and understanding how your spiritual senses work. You know,
Okay.
so if you're seeing in the spirit, you know, they're going to tell you that's, you know, your imagination or that it's fake, it's unreal. If you're hearing in the spirit, now they're going to say it's hallucin or auditory disturbances or the visuals hallucinations. Um, you know, if it continues past a certain age, then they're going to start talking to your parents. They're going to, you know, make you go into the school counselors. They're going to start you seeing somebody in mental health to control, you know, the audio and the visual disturbances, and may in fact even start to medicate you um, in order to shut those senses down if they're still too active. So, you know, they'll start mental health protocols to be able to control those spiritual senses.
Wow.
Instead of teaching you how to control your spiritual senses or your giftings, your God given abilities in that spiritual physical world. Um, yeah,
It's incredible. It's such, I mean, now I really know what the meaning of the word gaslighting is, because that would be the ultimate, right? I mean,
right.
wow. Sure.
And never explaining, never teaching
Yeah,
children how it works. Like that's, you know, it's like we have full spiritual senses, but yet we're not even taught how to use them, or even worse abuse after that. Like, you know, the worst abuse is when they begin to um through the churches or other places, they begin to tell the children that those natural, you know, natural senses are demonic, and that, you know, they'll begin to um you know, spiritually abuse in that by telling people that they're demonic, which sometimes there can be a demonic component with it, but not everybody who sees or hears in the spirit, um, you know, is connected to demonics.
absolutely.
Or
Ab-
sometimes they're the ones who connect you to the demonic, and then you're stuck dealing with these, you know, with these things.
And it's so, and what Renee is saying in the comment here, and I was actually about to say that as well, that goes so much in line with the interview that we were doing with Alice Parola last night
Mhm.
on mental health, because that's exactly where that kind of gaslighting is
Yeah.
exactly what causes mental illness, or that kind of splitting. I don't even know what the right word is. I would imagine that
Yeah,
one
the
would say,
disassociation or the
yes.
DID, yeah. Yep.
um, and of course creates the borderline personality disorders and the schizophrenia and all these crazy personality disorders, stuff
Yeah,
like that. Wow. Narcissism even, right? And even, I
correct.
mean,
Yeah.
I would imagine even people who are overly empathetic, right, could also have come from that type of background, because we, you know, it's natural for us all to have a certain level of empathy, but then you get
Mhm.
real empaths who have absolutely no boundaries. I would imagine that would also come from that, and those would usually
Yeah.
be the people that hook up with the narcissists, right? So
Yeah.
it's,
Well,
wow.
the sad part, I mean, so really in the beautifully adorned course, I break all that down. I break down how they connect. you know, those spiritual senses and the natural inclinations that, you know, your natural reactions, your natural emotions, they connect those to demonic spirits, which then become strongholds in your life. But those spirits are also connected to your natural, we'll just say like your desires in different sin areas. So, you know, not everybody has the same things that they desire or that they're drawn to. So they'll study that. They'll make those strongholds connected to your natural desires for sin in certain areas. And then it, you know, it's more than just, you know, a sin or just an emotion or just a feeling. You now have this, you know, attachment in that with a spiritual being, and you, in a way, you've made a contract with that being who now has authority and jurisdiction over that area in your life and keeps you held and bound in a state of captivity. And you know, that's the enemy's whole goal, is to take us captive and to keep us captive. And you know, mental health, the way they've built those programs, are meant to facilitate that captivity, not to allow true freedom, which includes healing through Jesus Christ. That's what they don't want you to know about, because then they don't have control of you. They don't have control of your destiny, the good works that God's prepared for you to do. And, you know, they're not making money off of you. Um, you know, whether they're using somebody productively or whether they've got you in that decommissioned state, you know, where they're maintaining you, either way, you know, it's just a different financial stream. Either way, the system's keeping you held in that captivity where you're making the money.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so insane to think, you know, that people contort things like this. It really is. I can so understand why the average person has cognitive dissonance,
Yeah.
because to wrap one's head around these things and that this type of evil exists is quite beyond the average mind. It's insane. Anyway.
Right. And, you know, the majority want to believe that, you know, the majority of the full extent of that evil ended after World War II, you know, when supposedly the Nazis were destroyed. But the fact is that it didn't. You know, that those same scientists, those same specialists, who specialized in spiritual warfare, um, you know, were invited into our country and began to run their programs, their projects, their experiments, um, on all the children of the world. Because where did all the nations in World War II, those involved, where did they send their children for safety? They sent them here to America, you know, thinking they were going to get a better life. And in fact, they were just feeding the pool, you know, sending their children here, and then they became part of those projects, those experiments. Um, yeah.
Speaking about kids and babies, and this might be slightly off the topic, but there again, it might not be. When we look at the turn of the century, end of the 1800s, going into the 1900s, you know, there was this, all these baby fairs with baby incubators and babies for sale, or what, you know. Um, I mean, I know we did a show on with Bryce not too long ago on the Newsies, these kids that were selling
Hmm.
and I know that was definitely a different era,
Yeah.
you know. So, but where did all these kids suddenly come from? All these orphans. Were these breeder programs? Were they taken from somewhere in kind of like what you're saying now? Were parents sending their kids away
Hmm.
to for a better upbringing? I mean, it's well known about the shiploads of kids that were sent to Australia, orphan kids.
Hmm.
It's well known. Thank you, Alana. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know exactly where they came from, but I think that, your speculations are definitely possibilities that, they could have come through those breeder programs that were run by the Catholic churches. They could have come through, um, some of the underground breeder programs. Um, many of them, I think that there was working in conjunction with the churches during that time, especially the 50s through, the 70s, we see an increase of, let's just say, Catholic girls who, uh, are in a position of being unwed mothers. And what did the church encourage with that? Was that these girls to adopt out their children. And, that was really where we see a lot of the influx, the increase in the orphanages, um, who became the guardians of a lot of those children. Um, it was the Catholic Church and, those who were running the adoption programs. And I would propose that even, those adoption programs going through the Catholic churches really were a precursor for CPS. So I think that, we went from one hand to another, but I think that, both hands are connected to the same structure, the same system. And, as things were coming out about the abuses in the Catholic Church run programs, they went to what they called more professional CPS and slapped a label on there that they, worked along with the government, to make people feel more comfortable with them. But who's really behind CPS? That's the question. And it's not our government. Um, so that's part of the buying, the selling, the trading of children is
Yeah.
happening through those where, we gave governmental authority to, privately owned sectors. Um, really behind it is the judicial system and, the trafficking of our children through the judicial system and through private venues.
And they would have
So,
had full access to them. I mean, especially if they were breeding them, uh, getting them from hospitals or wherever.
yeah, or they force their access to the children.
Yes.
Somebody makes a report. Well, do they train those reporter? Do they train those people to be mandated reporters? And there's so many abuses with that. Where I think that you've got people who are trained to make reports, yet the truth is that like for me growing up in um, the system would put what I would call monitors, people that would watch and make sure that you were keeping the silence. So everywhere I went, I knew like if I was at school, I knew that there were individuals that were watching me. I mean, these people would even approach me in the hallways. I wouldn't even be doing anything except for walking from one class to another. They would purposely walk past me, run into me, and knock all my books out of my hands. Then, as I'm picking up my books, they would say things like, remember, you know, and they would just do like the silent thing, where it's like, don't tell. Um, so they were constantly reminding me, as I'm sure other children as well. Um, but these monitors, they're set up to make it look like they're there to protect children. Some of the things that we see happening let's just say in the classroom setting where, um, they wanted the Protection Act, which people should look into that and who helped push that into being. Which here we can get into the animals here, Chantelle, a little bit, because some of the biggest pusher for that Protection Act in the 1980s for children were individuals like, Oprah Winfrey, John Walsh, our current, we'll just say, faux president. You know, we won't say his name, but we'll just call him the faux president. I think that's a good name for him. Um, but why did they push that Protection Act? Was it really so that children would not experience abuse in the schools or in the churches? No. And what did it do? It forced all nonprofits and other publicly funded programs that had children to put protections into place that supposedly were supposed to, help those children who were being abused. It also put into place adults then that had to become mandated reporters. So if they saw something, immediately they would report it, right? And they're told what to report. So, it's like if they see emotional abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, those are things they're going to report, right? Well, really, what did that do? It made it even harder for any child in the system to talk because now you've got people that the moment, you say, hey, something's happening, they're reporting it, and you know that the people they're reporting it to are people in the system. So then the system is well aware that you are, snarking. You're telling about what's happening to you and the abuse, and they're writing down how much silence are you willing to break? Are you going to out everybody in your circle or just one or two people? Sometimes they're willing to let, you snark on one or two if they're not happy with those people, or if those individuals have a lot of the children that they've abused reporting on them, then they, to keep the majority of the circle safe, they may let that one person or two people in their circle go down if they get too many children coming forward about it. But I encourage people to really look into those things because it definitely
Yeah.
was not a safeguard. Now, some of that was distinctly put into place because some of us children started going forward about the animal, not just the animal breeder programs, but the use of animals in the military programs and experiments, particularly out of the Florida base underground dump. And that was where one of the largest breeder programs was for the animals. And as we started to come forward about that, it put certain high level celebrities in a very precarious position because, behind the scenes, let's just say that loved and adored, um, woman who did shows every day, to promote womanhood, which tune into the next show because we're going to talk about where did that womanhood and the sisterhood terminology that Oprah used come from. We're
Mhm.
going to prove where she got it from and really what she was promoting, which was not, um, not really a form of feminism or, women stepping up in their authority and confidence. Really, what she was promoting was women in the system. And so, behind that, let's be frank about it. She's a high priestess, she's a witch. Um, let's call it like it is. And not only is she a witch, but she's a high level individual who's breeding um, specialty animals. And oh, God forbid, let's name her number one sin, beyond the military programs, let's just be truthful, beyond the pedophilia, beyond the abuse of black magic, sex magic with children, God forbid anyone start to, go even beyond the truth that these people are cannibals. Um, what's worse than that? Well, demonic relics that they're having sex with demons, and then God forbid anybody get to the truth that, their specialty sanctuaries and breeding programs and helping animals that are supposedly extinct survive. God forbid we mention that that has to really deal with bestiality. Let's get to the truth of the matter. Why were all those laws put in place to keep children quiet? Because they did not want the world to know that they're engaged in, sexual torture, exploitation, that revolves around cannibalism, satanic ritual, and bestiality and demonic relics. Um, so, that's the truth about what those individuals, particularly that one, is involved in. And, I think that a lot of that's going to come forward. And, the truths that, even our US military in their sex magic with the spiritual gates uses forms of bestiality and has trained up certain animal types to really be used in spiritual warfare. Um,
Okay, I actually can't bite my tongue
you're like,
anymore.
huh? Yeah,
I'm like, okay. I know that we've spoken. Let's just reverse a little bit back to Miss Oprah Winfrey.
yeah,
We know that she has a school in South Africa uh, with young girls, teaching them to be leaders in society, underprivileged young girls. We also know there have been many sex scandals in the school,
yeah.
um, such as one of the young girls actually being caught walking around with an aborted fetus in her backpack. So that was put down to her being a little bit having gone mental after she apparently had an abortion, uh, carrying around the fetus. But at the end of the day, it makes us wonder what that was really about when we
Mhm.
start looking deeper, right? So Oprah's already been dodgy when it comes to that. And I have no doubt that a lot of that interaction between South Africa and her school are completely connected to whatever her shenanigans are. And I
Yeah,
do believe she is a water witch, if I'm not if I'm remembering correctly, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, so when you talk about um, the animal trafficking rings, I do believe it's called, right? Did you say that, or was that just my assumption that she
Mm.
has animal trafficking rings? That I would
I
imagine.
propose that some of those celebrities are using their sanctuaries, animal sanctuaries, or things that they're supporting that really behind that they're trafficking animals.
And when we look at as well, Ellen DeGeneres, we spoke about her on the show right in the beginning, and
Mhm.
again we're coming back to that. And I want to just, for those of you who don't know, well, I don't know what's happened now that Portia is no longer around, but Portia apparently bought Ellen a gorilla sanctuary in Rwanda, in Africa, a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Little gang have been coming to and fro and parading around this gorilla sanctuary in Africa. Already we spoke about this right at the beginning, I remember that. And we spoke about the role that these animals, what they do with these, especially the
Mhm.
primates, in the system. I don't know. Do you want to touch on that again? Is that relevant now? It's quite gruesome.
Well, we brought out how, they're sexually exploiting those animals as well, that they are used in things like bestiality. They are used sexually and abused sexually. So, yeah, I think that's probably the best way we can put it.
You know, okay, let's not get stuck there because that's just too awful for me to even begin to imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Okay, what does Oprah have anything to do with that? I mean, as far as you know, from the primate perspective, like Ellen. I know Ellen would obviously be involved. How, we don't know for sure. I don't know anyway. I'm
I
just
I I would say from my experience, much more than Ellen, because I have testified that she was involved, in that buying, selling, and trading of animals at a level with the U.S. and world militaries.
well, yeah. One of the viewers, Prince, is saying they run it like the cattle industry. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, wow. I mean, that just puts a whole new light on things, doesn't it? Like really, like
it does.
human beings would be growing cattle and sheep, livestock farming basically,
Yeah,
to kill and eat. This is what they're doing with not only the animals, but the children as well.
right. Yeah,
Wow.
much worse than we could imagine. Um, it's much worse than we could imagine.
Okay, but now we're looking, why are we talking about animals? Now I'm thinking about a movie like Planet of the Apes. So, how much relevance, because that is not fiction, I don't think,
No, I
right? Or
don't think
not?
it's fiction either.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So what I mean is, since we're on the topic of gorillas and things, is there any truth to the rumor that there's gorilla armies like literally running around?
I believe there is. Yeah.
Is that all you're going to say?
That's all I'm gonna say. I think
Is
it
that all
is
you're going to
connected.
say?
The main base for that is connected to Florida. Um, but yes, that is very true, and I think a lot of that's going to be coming out soon. I think a lot more of that's going to be revealed, and I've asked for all the pictures, all the reports to be released. So, I'm praying that DJT will release all those pictures. And, he did make a statement the other day um, when he was speaking in Carolina, where he did say, um, that, he was talking about we'll just say that particular laptop, that's from that fiery place. Um, but he says that, the real pictures have not even come out yet, the
Yeah.
real picture. So I think, are we going to find some things about animals and animal armies beyond the satanic ritual and, the rape, torture, exploitation, weaponization of children? It'll be interesting to see what is all on, that laptop. And more than that, we have to remember that's not the only one. That, you
Mm.
know, our former, we'll just say SOS, secretary, um, HRC, that she had stuff that she took into her own home electronically. And what was she controlling from there? What did she have on those servers that she set up? Bigger yet, you know, she immediately started destroying that, but that wasn't the only place where, all the blackmail the system keeps is kept electronically. So, you know, do they have, the blackmail pictures and the truth about that dark world, what really was going on? I think all of that has been revealed and found out, and I think, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Really, there is a war, and who's in that war? That's the question. Does it include animal armies? Does it include, universal galactic, um,
Yes,
things.
these alien things that are landing. I don't know. Again, I mean, I've seen it a couple of times. This particular video on Twitter and stuff of these beings that landed in somebody's back garden a few days ago.
Isn't it Florida
Um,
as well?
yeah, and they really. I actually saw a video of it this morning. I don't know if you've seen that, Jess. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, this, and I mean what these the youngsters of today are so good with their computers and things and
Right.
looking at fake this and fake that. Um, they're pretty adamant this is real, and I've seen it this week, and it's the craziest looking thing. I think it's called a gargoyle. Um, I think it would be something like a gargoyle or something like that. It's got a tail. It's got 3 fingers. It's got like almost like a human head, but but with strange eyes. And there were 2 of them, and they're landing somewhere. Where was that, Morné? Do you remember? No, you didn't see
There was actually a few that came out in the last week. There was actually more than one
yeah,
report. I think it's Florida, round about Florida, if I'm not wrong.
that's right. I think it was Florida. And it's just very interesting. We're hearing more and more of these
Well, yeah, I mean,
reports.
especially since just a couple months ago we had the huge, military island that was there in Florida. So maybe, they lost a couple shippies. We'll call them shippies.
What someone is saying, what Prince is saying is not landed, dropped off.
Yeah, maybe it is purposeful. We could make a keynote joke here. They call those bases, one of them is called Uranus. I'm not sure which is over Florida, but we could just say, Uranus, you lost one of your shippies, or 2 of them. We're putting some calls out here. You might want to get that under control.
It's done deliberately. We're freaking you out. Oh my goodness! Wow, that is crazy, though, because it's really there's a lot of stuff going on. Wow.
Well, apparently everybody's saying it's Las Vegas. Sorry, everybody. I see everybody's saying it's Las Vegas, Las Vegas.
Oh yeah. So then Mars, there's it's possible that one that was over Michigan could have gone over Nevada then. So possible, somebody's got some shippies loose, needs to get that under control.
Yeah. The question is, are they being dropped off? Like, we've always heard about the alien false flags that are coming, right? To make us believe that there's aliens, or are they really coming out from the tunnels in the earth? You know what I'm saying? Are they really coming out from underneath the dodgy places and like little cockroaches?
All the stuff we've had going on in the air, I think that they're probably from above, not below.
Okay.
I think that they took a lot of that stuff above because of the good military going through the tunnel systems and flooding those out. So I think that, things have really shifted where more of it's in the air now than below.
But these are like I mean, okay. What is one? Let's just define definition of alien first. So, what would you consider to be an alien, and what would you consider to be a demon or a fallen angel running around like one of these creatures of the night? What's the difference?
For me, they're both the same. So I think we need to distinguish that, what I believe these shippies are not alien. And I don't believe necessarily that they're demonic either. You have hybrid creatures that the system has created who have specific positions or jobs or things that they're supposed to do, whether it's scouting or, preparing an area for things that are about to happen, whether it's to start to cause fear, to get people afraid so that they'll buy into the scenarios easier. Whether it's setting up certain fields, you know, for things that they're about to do. You know, you got different things that they're going to do. But what I classify, you know, demonic, you know, I do believe that, you know, when I talk about demons, I'm referencing, you know, fallen angels, um, that, you know, the third that were cast out of heaven. That's who I see as the demons and the unclean spirits. And, you know, those hordes of unclean spirits are what I call the little chicken demons. And then you have the principalities, you have the authorities, the rulers. So that's where you get into, you know, Satan's demonic army structure, where you have, you know, the principalities are his generals. Underneath them, you have the commanders, and then you get to all those hordes of, you know, little chickens, based on what the uncleanness or the sins are. Um, you know, so ones that I've seen, mass hordes, you know, you've got those that specialize in suicide, you've got those that specialize in lust, those that specialize in wrath, anger, those connected to, you know, alcohol, drugs, which kind of goes to the wrath, the anger, the sloth, even. So they're connected to the 7 deadly sins. You know, then you've got those that they call aliens, but, you know, from my experience, those were demonic spirits as well. And, you know, would specialize in being able to take different forms, you know, so they could look like something. They're also able to, you've got some that for periods of time, they're able to physically manifest. And scripture talks about that, you know, that like you're supposed to treat strangers with kindness, because what if it's an angel in disguise, right? So, you know, angels, fallen ones, can take physical form at times. Um, you know, and with that, you know, I've talked about how in the projects and experiments that you have some children that are very tangible, physically, scientifically minded. They're not connected to the spirit world. They don't see, hear, or feel in the spirit world. So, how does the system begin to connect those people to demonic or spiritual beings? You know, they have to have something tangible, which then became, you know, the alien programs. And, you know, through science, through tangible things, they begin to connect those children to spiritual beings disguised as aliens. So that's my experience of it and what I fully believe about that.
Wow. So we've spoken about how in places like Area 51, and from what I'm
Right.
understanding, it's not just Area 51, but that's as far as our scope has reached thus far. Okay, there's lots of dodginess that goes on there. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking that these things that are running around that were dropped off the other night and that are now starting to inhabit bit by bit, because it was quite clear also from the video footage I could see this thing was scared. You know, it didn't really know. It's like half walking, half crawling, you know. Um, so is this something that has been mutated, as with a lot of the other apparitions that they create, and that is driven by or hosted by, if you will, an unclean spirit? So would it be one of those unclean spirits that is hosting a mutated body, like these funny looking things? Or is this thing naturally born like that, looking like, let's call it a gargoyle,
Yeah.
for want of a better word? Is it naturally born like that?
I mean, that's the question. It could be, you know, you do have genetically modified hybrids, as well as, you know, you definitely have those that can be caused through, the changeling spirits. You know, it's hard to know offhand which it is, but yeah.
Yeah, could be either.
Wow,
Yeah.
very, very interesting. Anyway, gosh, we took a little detour there.
We did a big
Not a
detour. We didn't
detour.
even get into the physical science yet of the Gateway Project, but next time.
Yeah, okay, because we've got a show after this as well. And guys,
Yeah.
what we're going to be touching on in solutions in half an hour or 25 minutes is we're going to be looking at pride. Okay, it is Pride Month, but when we're looking at the rainbow flag, sorry, Jess, can you just reiterate what you were saying about what that flag belongs to or who it belongs to?
Yeah, I would propose that it belongs to the a female order section of, we'll just say the brotherhood system. So
Yeah, okay. Very interesting. So we're going to be looking at the pride flag, the rainbow flag, and Jessie's going to be decoding the different roads, bows, colors,
yeah.
whatever, and what they really mean. It's very, very interesting. Wow. Anyway, I'm wondering if there's, do you want to end off with something, Jess, or is there still something?
Yeah, well, we can end with prayer if you're good with that.
Yeah, we can do that. But before we do, I just want to again say thank you so much to our viewers who have donated to our survivor. Again, if there's anyone who I know that not everyone has access to stickers, so any sticker that we receive today is going to our veteran family. It's his birthday coming up soon, and he's been an incredible gift and a friend to this platform. Definitely given us lots and lots of background information for which honestly we so need. He's super important at this time. And again, any other donations that can't come through here to go be donated to Jessie, illuminate the darkness .online.
Oh,
Or
no,
you can
no. .com. It's the
.com.
yeah,
Oh,
the dot online is a fake site. Yeah, so illuminate the darkness.
then Jessie, you just have to check on your Twitter. It's still on your Twitter, and your handle, it still says that one.
Okay.
Oh, she froze. Okay,
Oh.
.com.
Okay.
So, but
So you guys are welcome to those of you who can't do a sticker and anything. We are so eternally grateful. Can you hear me?
I
Yeah.
can hear you. I think
Okay.
Jessie's breaking up a little bit.
All right. Okay, so guys, again, I would just with all the breakups and shakeups and thing, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has contributed to our veterans' birthday. It's been very amazing. For those of you who would still like to contribute and donate, there's the Jessie's website, illuminatethedarkness.com. Please use the keyword ARA or the code word ARA, ARA, for Aquarius Rising Africa. And then Jessie will ensure that him and his family receive his gift, well deserved as well. So I want to say again, thank you so much to everyone that has viewed and joined. Super, super interesting comments and commentary from Jessie as well. And Jess, yeah, over to you to end up in prayer for us.
All right.
Mr. Burns, thank you so much.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much, and we just ask for your blessings for this veteran, Lord. We thank you for all that you are doing. We just ask for your grace, your mercy, your goodness, Lord. And we ask, Father God, that that you will just continue to build us up, that you will strengthen us, that you will provide for us all that we need, Lord. We thank you for all that you have done in our lives, and thank you for the blessings that you are. In your powerful name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. That was a really, really informative and powerful session that you did there with us, Jess. Thank you. And again, thank you so much, Mr. Burns, and to Morné. Who are the other the contributors? I don't see them here. How do I find them?
It was Alana. and
Yes.
Lisa. Here comes Andy Bond as well. Let's see.
Andy, thank you so much, guys. Wow. Happy birthday. You know who you are. And I hope you're watching because you deserve everything. You and your beautiful wife.
And Joyful Janine as
well.
Yeah,
Joyful Janine was the first donator. Yes. And this year is it Lisa D. Lisa D. Wow, that was a great $100 there. Thank you so much, guys. Really, really appreciate you. These guys, honestly, it's amazing for me to see how our community, you know, when we all just get together and we all just put our resources together, we can make it life so much easier for each other, you know.
Yeah.
So God bless you all. Thank you so, so much. And we'll see you at about 3 on Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa, where we are going to look at the flag, the rainbow flag, and we're going to be doing a little deep dive into that, which I think is super important since it is Pride Month as well. There's all sorts of double dichotomies and all sorts of things going on. Thank you, guys.
And let me just clarify so people are not scared or afraid. With the dot online, that will go to our older website for Illuminate the Darkness, that now has become our Netherlands site. So it's still connected to us, but the .com is the one we've been trying to have all the donations go through. So that still goes to our ministry. It will still get through, but it just goes, I guess, the longer route to the Netherlands area. So both websites you can use for our ministry if you're looking into the things that we support, the people we help and support. So
awesome. Thank you, guys. We'll catch you later. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.